Well, what about you guys? How's it going? Hope you're all keeping well today. Hope everything is good where you are. Here, look. I got myself a lav mic. Fancy. It does feel quite weird not having a shotgun microphone in front of my face, but thankfully at least this is less of a setup, and I hope it's improved the overall quality of the audio on the videos. But I'm not here to talk about that today. All I want to talk about is I have a setting that is set up on my camera that has been really helping me over the years. I've had this set up on all my cameras ever since I was on Nikon, and it's a little something known as back button autofocus. Now, you've probably heard of that term before. So today I just wanted to talk about what is back button autofocusing, why I use it, and why I think you should consider maybe setting it up onto your camera. Now, I'm in no means going to be showing you how to set it up on your camera, because all cameras are made completely differently. I mean, if all cameras were made the same, my job would be so much more easier. But it's not a hard thing to do. You can go onto YouTube and there's so many different tutorials that you can look at to set your camera up onto back button autofocusing. It only takes a couple of minutes. Now, when it came to digital cameras with autofocus built in, what you had to do was you press your shutter button halfway, you hear a beep. Now, I generally don't have that beep turned on, but I've got it just turned on for this exercise, and then you press your shutter button all the way to then take your photograph. So to achieve back button autofocus, all it is just turning off the focus feature off the shutter button and sending it to a different button. On majority of the time it's on the back of the camera. Most cameras would come with a separate button known as AF on. Mine doesn't, so I've had to set my camera up where a certain button, once I press it, gives me my focus. For the Fujifilms, I've got mine set up to AFL, which was the autofocus lock. So anytime I press that button, it then gives me my autofocus. So then all the shutter button is doing is taking photographs. So I have focus and then take photo with the shutter button. So why would you do something like that? Sure, that sounds quite cumbersome, having two buttons that, you know, are doing two totally different things. Well, for me personally, it really helps with, most importantly, composition. Say for example, before you get back button turned on, when you go and take a photograph, normally you set yourself, like say for example, you want to do something like a subject off center. Well, you get your subject all set up, you get exposed, you get your focus, press your shutter button halfway, take some photographs bang on in the center. Say you move your camera over to the side and then you do another half press. Well, you've essentially knocked off the focus. So you have to then recompose, focus, and make sure that you have held down halfway on the button, which can be quite cumbersome. Whereas when you turn on back button autofocus, you essentially press your focus button, whatever you have that set up to be, and then just move over and start taking your photographs. Your focus is essentially locked. So then if you move over, up, down, left, right, your focus is still continuously locked on. All you're just doing is just taking photos from there on in. Now, if you do decide you want to move back or move forward, just press your button again and then just start taking your photographs. It really helps on a composition front, especially when it comes to things like landscape photography. Like for me, when I go out to a scene of a really nice landscape, get the camera all set up, get the exposure, and whenever I'm out and I want to get a focus, most landscape photographers tend to use manual focus. I tend to not to, because I mostly just can't be bothered. Manual focus will certainly get you a lot more precision, but whenever I go out to a landscape, get everything set up, and then press my button for the focus, and again, that's it locked on. I can then just press my shutter button as many times as I like if I want to. I can move over left to right if I want to change how a scene looks in my photograph and just continue to take photos. But again, if I move back or forward, I have to then refocus. But it's just a quick button press on the back and that's it already locked. But before I did this, what I was doing on my camera was setting everything up, press my shutter button halfway, turn my camera to manual focus, and then start taking photographs. And that just takes up a good fair bit of time when it comes to taking photographs. Whereas at least with back button autofocus, I can just boom, there, focus is already locked on. All I just need to do is start taking photographs. Now the beauty about a lot of mirrorless cameras nowadays is that you do have the option of playing about with auto and manual focus. Like on the Sony systems, you have DMF, dynamic manual focus. On the Fuji, when you turn on back button, I actually can get the option of autofocus, and if I turn the dial on the front, the manual focus. So at least that way I can then autofocus and then fine tune using manual focus if I want to. It really helps because you also then have the focus peaking to sort of show you a little bit more accuracy. What a lot of other photographers use back button autofocus for is for things like fast moving subjects. Whereas when we were talking about landscape photography, we had our camera set up to AFS, or known as one shot on your Canon cameras. Whereas if you want to follow along with a subject and keep tracking it, you would turn your camera to AFC or servo on your Canon camera. And all this essentially is when you're holding down your shutter button, keep holding down on the focus and it's just continuously focusing. You know, you might not hear that beep that you would have done on the AFS, but the focus is just continuously focusing. But instead for back button autofocusing is that when you hold the shutter button on the back, you're continuously focusing, and all you're just doing is spraying, just holding down on the shutter button, so that way you have the best of both worlds going on there. So like I say, I know it probably seems a little cumbersome having two buttons doing totally different things, but for me over the years it has really helped, because like I say, once I press my autofocus button on the back, that's it already locked on. I'm ready to go. All I just need to do is start taking photographs. I can then recompose if I want to, and it just really helps me personally. So hopefully this video has helped you. If it's something that you've been looking to do, then certainly get it set up on your camera, try it out, see what you think. If you feel comfortable using it, then keep on doing it. If you don't, then just don't. You know, it's all about comfort when it comes to photography and what is right for you. For me, back button autofocusing really helps me, and I hope it does help you if you do decide to try it. If you've been considering using it, or if you do use it already, then let me know in the comments down below. Let me know your overall thoughts. It'd be great to hear from you, and don't forget to like, share, press subscribe, and also hit that wee bell icon so that you can stay up to date with future videos. But until then guys, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.